CIP messaging. CIP is Common Industrial Protocol. Used a lot in industrial automation. Pretty much anything that uses Ethernet IP for its communication uses CIP. It's very robust, very fast, and very useful. You can cram a lot of information into a little bit of bandwidth that you can do a lot of really cool things with. Neatest one that I've done yet is, you guys ever heard of a draw wire encoder?
What?
Draw wire encoder.
No, I don't think I have.
Sometimes called a string pot. It's a spring-loaded draw wire or string, and as the wire is pulled out of the case, there's an encoder in there that tells you how far it went. And since it's spring-loaded, it will return on its own. Use it for elevation on various devices and stuff, or how far something has gone horizontally or whatever. Really cool technology. But we used to use the ones that were 4 to 20 milliamp signal on the column lifts over at CPS, and I may have told you guys this, but we had one customer that kept complaining about their lifts not positioning correctly. We had an order for 11 of them from the same customer, so we started testing, and while the VFD was on and moving the carriage, it was interfering with the position encoder, so it would move until it went to its programmed position, stop, brake would engage, VFD would shut off, and the position would change like that by an inch or two. It was drastic. So coming to find out, the VFD was interfering with the signal coming from that draw wire. So switched over to one that was run on Ethernet, and the problem went away. Much like my clicker just did. So what is CIP? Common Industrial Protocol. Industrial protocol used in manufacturing automation for control, safety, motion, synchronization, configuration, and information management. Kind of long-winded way of saying it does about everything. Integrates manufacturing applications with enterprise-level Ethernet networks and the internet. I'm not sure I would want the internet to know what the elevation was of my doodad or whatever, but you can do that. The lab was supposed to be fire up Wireshark and get some CIP messaging going between the PLC and the VFD, and then sniff that traffic, go into monitor mode, if you will. It's called promiscuous mode if it's wired. And sniff that traffic, see if we could figure out, what the command codes were and all that. When I tried it, it didn't work. So, Ethernet IP overview uses standard Ethernet and TCP/IP technologies along with CIP application layer. CIP runs at layer 7 of the OSI model. Used in time-critical implicit and non-time critical explicit message transfer services. Allows for seamless integration in industrial automation applications. most communication between PLC and VFD is explicit messaging, because they're not necessarily time critical. It's just, hey drive, start, or hey drive, stop. You know, if you're wanting to know what the elevation is of your lift and you need to stop it at a critical moment, you want to use implicit messaging to make sure that it happens when you need it to. Okay. Supported functions, time critical message exchange, for IO control, HMI, device configuration and programming. That's one of the cool things about the CIP. You can actually use CIP messaging to configure the device that's going to do the CIP messaging. So, kind of neat. Device and network prognostics and diagnostics. You guys recognize prognostics by any chance?
Prognostics.
I know, I kind of get diagnostics, but not
Prognosis.
Have you ever watched Punxsutawney Phil, Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
I've heard
And whenever they pull him out, you know, he is the prognosticator of prognosticators.
There's a predictor.
Oh, you predict.
Prognostication is whenever you do predictive diagnostics or predictive maintenance, PM, preventative maintenance, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then diagnostics, of course, is what you have to do after things break. But the prognostics comes in very handy because you can anticipate when things are going to fail. You know, because there are tattletale signs. If you have a bearing that's getting ready to go out, you know, it'll start vibrating, it'll start warming up, you know, things like that. You can tell that it's going to fail. You know, sometimes if a bearing fails, it's, oh man, we had a bearing fail. And other times, if you're, you know, talking conveying systems in grain silos or whatever, you can generate enough heat to cause an explosion and, you know, blow a grain silo to kingdom come, kill people and things like that. So if you can do some predictive maintenance, then, you know,
Nitrate explosion.
it's all kinds of them. People don't realize it, but dust with the right concentration of oxygen can be extremely volatile, and things that you wouldn't think are. One of the coolest episodes of Mythbusters, they took a bunch of coffee creamer, like a 500-pound bag of it, and they blew it up in the air, and it kind of, you know, made the pretty cloud. And then the oxygen to powder ratio got just right, and it ignited. And the fireball was like 5,000 feet in the air, and, you know, scared Carrie Byron so bad that she was literally using Tory Belleci as a human shield.
Bro, I love that. What car would call
It's
They put a
materials.
flare in the middle of it before they blew it up in the air. The lit flare, stuck it in there, and then hit it with an air charge. Of course, you know, the air shoved all the coffee creamer up out of the drum. And boom, yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that on a lot of shows. Flower, wind blows.
People make the mistake of throwing flour on grease fires, thinking it's going to put it out.
What?
Did you?
Yeah, it just adds fuel to the fire.
They probably
Yeah, if you wanna,
I'm sure fire extinguisher.
if you want to put out a grease fire on stove, you use baking powder or baking soda. Either one works, but yeah, never throw flour on a grease fire or water. No,
But my
Um,
father always told me
it's by witnessed experience.
put oil on the wet
Um,
Me made sure everything was
if you
fine.
pour water on a grease fire, the water flashes to steam instantly and throws grease everywhere.
Ooh, shoot.
Yeah.
We're still on the subject of diagnostics and, telltale signs that, in other words, a bearing might go out,
Mhm.
So, okay.
Compatibility with SNMP, the web pages embedded in devices. Anybody know what SNMP is? That's SMTP.
I was just.
Supported network maintenance.
Oh, no.
I could guess, but no.
Right.
Simple network management
Ooh,
protocol.
I was so close. Ooh, that was a good
Yep.
guess.
Simple network management protocol. CIP connections and TCP connections in Ethernet IP are either implicit, time critical, or explicit, non-time critical. All communications are based on TCP connections, with a single TCP connection supporting multiple CIP connections. Do you guys remember what TCP connections are? And that's been several weeks ago, so. Transport control. Transport control.
Transport control.
Oh
Ooh.
my gosh.
I had the control. It was something involving control, but
Yeah, TCP is where you have to do the handshake, establish a connection,
yeah.
and then start transferring data, as opposed to UDP, user datagram. That is just send it and forget it. So since based on TCP, you have to do the handshake, establish a connection, and part of that is making sure that the data that was sent is the data that was received. Because, if you're trying to rely on an Ethernet EIP CIP connection to tell you what the level is in a tank, or that kind of thing, and you use UDP, you're assuming the messages get there. They may not. So, tank can overflow and you never know it, or run dry and your pump would burn up or whatever. You can go either extreme. Terminology and definition: implicit connection is time critical, used for I/O and produce to consume tags. Those of you that have been through PLC3, a few of you, produced and consumed is the thing you should already know about. Explicit connection, non-time critical, used to request, or used for request reply operations. Like, hey, is that switch on or not? Yes or no?
Either right.
Yeah. Well, sort of. Hey, Billy, what time is it? Yeah. Yeah, well, that's not necessarily read right. If I say, hey, Billy, it's 5 o'clock, you need to remember that, that would be right. Yeah. Producer consumer describes the cyclic data exchange in implicit connection. Client server describes the request reply nature of explicit connection. Producer consumer is I produce a value and you consume it. It's something that you need to know. Client server is like internet. You know, if I want to visit Amazon.com, Amazon doesn't care whether I want to or not. Their server's just sitting there, and I send a request to, hey, Amazon, I would like to talk to you. And it says, oh, okay. Okay, service codes and classes. The four most commonly used are 0E, which is get attribute single. So if I want to read an attribute from my VFD, you know, what is the current output frequency going to the motor? 10, these are all hex values. 10 is set attribute single. So I want to say, hey, drive, I want you to run at this speed. 32 hex get attributes scattered. You can actually say, hey, I want to know what the value is of parameter 2, 7, 3, whatever. And then 3, 4 hex is set attributes scattered. So you can say, hey, I want to set attributes 2, 3, 7, and whatever. Okay, that's the difference. Class code most commonly used is 0F hex, which states that, hey, this is a parameter object. I want to write a parameter such as preset speed, commanded frequency, that kind of thing. Attributes and instances. An instance defines the specific instance of an object, and an attribute defines the parameter or value for a given instance. Okay, so the instance is the object itself, and the attribute is this is the value that I want that object to have. Okay. So in summary, CIP messaging allows for effective communication and integration of automation systems, providing a standardized protocol for diverse industrial applications across multiple networks. Neat, huh?
So we have like two devices that are incompatible, like that.
If they are both capable of CIP, yes.
These are essentially computerized things, or is it like a computer to machine, or all three?
Both.
Both? Oh wow! So it does everything, like you said earlier.
And it must have some type of link, like a network interface card or something.
Yeah.
Like it's the Ethernet, so most likely yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, I've heard people who say this thing does everything. This thing does everything.
Yeah, that's the neat thing about CIP. It's common industrial protocol. The encoders that we originally used, the EIP encoders that we originally used over there
As
at
in
CPS, were Positol.
This is the website where you actually get the encoder parts. Okay.
But you can see they have Ethernet IP analog, which is 4 to 20, 0 to 10. CAN open, EtherCAT, Profinet, Profibus, SSI, which is a serial communication, and IO Link.
I've seen a lot of devices.
Yeah, you can do distance and all kinds of things over IO Link. Instead of just getting on or off signal, IO Link will send diagnostic data like, hey, the lens is getting dirty on your laser sensor, and things like that.
Do each one of these companies that kind of make the different encoders, right? Are these different machines that have these encoders in them in specific fields? Like does EtherCat work with like cats? Those giant big.
Caterpillar?
No, not Caterpillars. Like really big machines, right? Those big what do we call them?
Earth movers, that sort of thing.
I'm losing words as I'm saying this. I don't know why.
Well,
that
when you think
happens.
about it, let me know.
Oh, yeah. Bulldozers and whatnot.
That's Caterpillar.
Really?
Yeah.
You're being literal?
Yeah.
Caterpillar is like saying.
They call it CAT
Oh.
for short.
Oh, that legitimately threw me off guard there. I was like, whoa. Caterpillar? They're kidding me there, but no, it's actually Caterpillar.
So the absolute encoders that they do are multi-turn. So the absolute encoders that I have on the trainers over there are single turn.
Oh my
It
God.
goes around one revolution, starts back over at 0, and then okay.
Those are for like the index and compare. Those are.
Well, some of them do. Yeah, some of them do. These multi-turn are useful because it keeps track of how many turns the encoder is actually made. So you can easily convert that into linear distance or whatever you need. Really cool technology. And the neat thing about it too is it uses STP, shielded twisted pair. So it's pretty noise immune. Yeah. That's why we went with those, and instead of the 4 to 20 milliamp signal. Everything was shielded there. We had VFD cable, which is shielded to prevent the noise from getting out of the cable. We had shielded cables on the encoders to keep the noise from getting into the signal, and it was still jacking with it. That's how bad VFDs are at generating electrical noise. So we went with the Ethernet encoders, and that problem went away.
You can use the Ethernet coders?
Yeah.
Because I just thought that came with like 3 wires, power wires,
this one,
small split and modulation.
Saying it all.
That this came out of them. Sometimes it's there before. So you can just kind of just plug in the Ethernet.
Well, it's a special connector. It's not a regular RJ45.
But I mean, you will still wires.
Well, you have to provide power.
Power.
Well, some of them do use power over Ethernet. Yeah, do power over Ethernet and power it and communicate with it via the same cable.
Oh, this is the water.
So yeah, really, really cool technology.